Welcome CSC103 class. This is a review of what we did for exercise 8A, and this is basically just doing some inline CSS in a discussion post, just to kind of practice, since in a discussion post you don't have a lot of extra tools to do that, so we'll just show you how to do some CSS if you have to in a post, so you can add things like line height, etc. So I'm going to go into discussion board, and for this exercise you're going to go down to unit 5 because that's where we had something set up. And you could just add a post, and we're just going to call it 8A, and we're going to do two things. We'll call it my CodePen because you're going to put your CodePen address in there, and you could put your last name, first initial. And what we're all going to do first is we're going to go find line text generator, my favorite lorem ipsum site, and I'm going to use 200 characters, and I might use 300 characters. I'll make it a little bit bigger. And this is just going to be dummy text. It doesn't really mean anything. And we could use Kafka, so it kind of looks like something, and we'll also display our tags. So just one paragraph, 300 characters, display p tags. We can copy to clipboard, and we're going to paste it to our discussion, except instead of pasting it right here, which is what you normally do, we're going to go into our source code. That's this little button here that looks like HTML tags, and I'm going to paste it into there. And I'm going to put two things in here. I'm going to change the font size and the line height. And where I can do that, since you can't change line height within your HTML tools that you have in your discussion board, I'm going to go inside this p tag, and I'm going to do an inline style. It's basically a way to do a CSS style that's not as an external style sheet, that's not inside of style tags. It's actually inside the actual element. So I'm going to do p, and you could do this anytime you have access to HTML. I'm just going to do style equals and then put double quotes because it has to be in quotes, and then you're just going to put your basic style declarations inside there. For example, we'll do font size, and it's font dash size. I'll do a colon, and you can do a space or you don't have to do a space, and I'll just do 18 pix. PX is the abbreviation for pixels, and I'll put a semicolon because I'm going to do one more, although you should still put a semicolon at the end. You don't have to put a space, but you can put a space. And I'm also going to do line height, which is two words, line dash height, and a colon. And for here I'm going to do 180%. So we're going to kind of spread it out, which will be kind of almost more like not quite double spacing, but it'll spread out the line height. It'll be a lot easier to read than what our default text typically is in our forms. And our forms are usually very small 8-point text to start, so we don't want to do that. So we're just putting a style, we're embedding a style inside our p tag, inside our paragraph tag, and I'm just going to hit OK. And that's what it should look like. And that would be a nice, easy to read format to use. Line height spread out a little bit and a bigger size. Now you can use some of the tools here, although you wouldn't have line height there. So I just want to point out that you do have the ability to go in there, because whenever you use these tools, it really makes kind of really not nice looking code when you go to look at it. And just for example, I'm going to hit return here. And one other thing I want you to do, and we just kind of combined this in this assignment, is you're going to go to your CodePen, and I'll go to mine just as an example. I'll go to my CodePen. And this is just so I can get into your CodePen, so I can see your main directory. Now I'm in mine already, so I see it up here. So I'm just going to copy this, that whole address that's up here. And if you see yours with your username up here, just copy it. And I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm just going to paste this right here after hitting return, and I'll paste it. Now this is not hyperlinked right now, it's just kind of pasted in there. If you click on it, it won't go anywhere, and what we want to do is make this a hyperlink. Before I do that, I'm just going to wipe this out because we don't need that. If I see this link, I could click on there and go right into your pen, and I could see all of your pens, and I don't have to get an email for each individual file or pen that you do in CodePen. So we're going to do that, and that way I'll have kind of a record of it. And then you'll also learn how to do a hyperlink in here. Basically you could just highlight that, and I'm actually going to copy that because that's what I want actually to be hyperlinked. And I'm going to go into my little chain link here, and that's the text to display, and now this is the URL. That's where it's going to go. So they can be the same. Sometimes you might want to simplify the text that's displaying. Sometimes you might want to simplify the text that is displaying on your page because it might be a real long URL. You might not want to show that real long URL. It might have a bunch of letters and be all kind of cloaked so it doesn't look like anything. And you might want it to look like something. But in this case, we want to see the address, and that's fine. And then also you're going to target a new window. And we've done that with HTML already, but I just want to show you what it looks like when you just kind of use these tools to do that. Now it's hyperlinked. If you went back in to look at your code, and you can see it's all jumbled together, it's kind of hard to look at, but And it did use the same styling for the second paragraph that we made, but there's our hyperlink. There's our A, our ref, and there's our address that it's going to, and then there's our target. Target equals underscore blank, and then wrapped in the A tags with the closing A tags is the address that it's going to. That's what you're displaying. So this is what's displaying, and this is the URL that it's actually going to. So when we type that in code in CodePen, we did that manually, but this is what it looks like when you use some of the tools in here. And that's all you have to do for that. And then once you're done, you just have to submit, and that would be the end of exercise 8A.